watching the show Silicon Valley on HBO lately, and it's always interesting to me what effect an investor can have on a product or service, on an entrepreneur who's trying to launch something and do something great. So let's talk about VC funding versus bootstraps. Hi, I'm Daniel Burstein, Director of Editorial Content at Marketing Sherpa. We are here at the Marketing Sherpa Media Center at IRCE, and joining me now is Brian Fricano, the CEO of Sustainable Supply. Thanks for joining us, Brian.
Thanks, Daniel. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So you're an entrepreneur, and you've been wrestling with this issue about do we take VC funding, do we bootstrap it, and we'll get to that in a moment. But first, tell me a little bit about Sustainable Supply, how you started, what your goal was.
Certainly, yeah. So we started in 2009. So if you remember, that's the heart of the recession.
I remember it well.
So naturally, very humble beginnings. So we started the company. My wife and I were expecting our second child, and we just wanted to supplement some income at home. And I'd been kind of studying in the lead green building movement, and saw an opportunity online to sell green commercial products. And people have been selling things like hand soaps and organic and natural foods online, but really on the commercial side, it seemed like it was an untapped market. So we launched in 2009 and are able to get some manufacturers to start working with us that normally wouldn't have. And before you know it, we did 100K in sales our first year and just blew beyond our expectations. But from the beginning, the core of what we were trying to do is sell products for commercial buildings that save water and save energy. And as we continue to grow and add products, we found that our customers wanted to come to us to buy those products, but also just regular things to manage and maintain their buildings. So we kind of widened the scope over the years. We went from just a few thousand items to over 1 million products right now that we offer. So we sell a lot of green cleaners, light bulbs, water efficient hand washing stations. But then we sell things like nuts and bolts and things that aren't necessarily green, but they're not green. But we get customers coming to us because they share the same social mission as us, which is sustainability. So that was back in 2009 during the early days, and like.
And you mentioned those early days. You found a really clever way to get off the ground very cheaply. How'd you do that?
Yeah, so we started the company with virtually no money. So $2,100 was how we started this business, which is crazy to think that you can start a multi-million-dollar business based upon nothing. But so in 2009, a lot of manufacturers, traditionally the model was we work with big brick and mortar distributors. They buy our product, they stock it, they warehouse it, send it to their customers. And we approached them with a dropship business model. We said, hey, we know you're hungry for business right now. Can we think of a new way to do business? So how about you dropship for us? We'll try it out for a couple years here. If it works, great. If not, no harm done. So we signed up dozens of suppliers that were willing to dropship on our behalf. So we were able to basically become a virtual distributor, never taking possession of inventory. And we continue to do that. And in fact, that's still most of our business model is shipping products, as we call, from floor to door. So they are made at the manufacturing floor and they go right to the customer or the end user's store. And
actually, with your business model, I would think that's probably a more sustainable approach to doing it anyway.
Absolutely. So ideally, in the lead model is always connecting building products from the source directly to the job site. And so we've kind of taken out that middle ground that distribution normally provides, and we're, like we said, floor to door is the most sustainable way you can deliver a manufactured good to a customer, is going right from where it's made right directly to the customer.
Okay, so now growth came, and I understand you got on some Inc. 500, Inc. 5000. Let's tell us about your growth.
So we for the first few years there, we were growing. We had 100% growth. So got about $1 million in our second year. Then doubled that in our third year, and then doubled that in our fourth year. So fast forward to 2013. We make the Inc. 500 list for the first time. So we're the 5th fastest growing retailer, number 113 or number 114 overall. So up until that point, I was running the business. It's a family business. I'm thinking about, my small team and my family at that point. Well, then the venture capitalists start calling, private equity firms start calling and say, hey, we see that you made the Inc. 500. We're really impressed with your growth. Would you be interested in taking on funding or a partner? So that was kind of a turning point in the business. It was like, okay, there's value in the business beyond what we're doing on a day-to-day basis or on an annualized basis. There is value to this company that outside investors see. So, I kind of hit a crossroads there. It was like, okay, we're doing about $3 million in revenue at that time. I saw us doing far more revenue. So for me, I felt that if we brought on the venture capitalist funding at that time, it would have been too early in the process. We would have been giving away equity too early in the company, and it's kind of proven, over our growth after that, which has been 4x growth since we made the Inc. 500. Had we brought on investors there, we potentially would have given up too much equity too soon in the process.
I'd imagine also for a mission-oriented company like yourself, a company with a social mission, you would also have to be super careful about finding a VC that was aligned with that.
Absolutely right. So, and each venture capitalist, has their own specialty. Not a lot of them are specialists in sustainability.
And they specialize in making money, I think,
yes,
a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. They love making money, but we actually, one had contacted us that has a very social type mission, and we were close to striking a deal with them. We decided, against it at the last minute, but there's not a lot out there that have like this social component to them. It's strictly, they're looking for high growth companies and high return on investments, which is understandable. But for us, we didn't want to lose that social mission, and so we kind of decided to keep doing it on our own.
Okay. So you put together a nice list here of pros and cons. If there's other entrepreneurs who are deciding, hey, should we keep bootstrapping? Should we go VC? So first, walk us through, some of the pros.
Yeah. So I think for me again, personally, I never liked having a boss. A lot of people don't like having a boss, and so the autonomy of bootstrapping is okay. You are the own boss. It really forces you to learn a lot about business. And I didn't go to business school. I haven't taken a single business class in my life. I'm a sales and marketing guy, but I was forced through the startup business to learn about finance, learn about accounts receivable, accounts payable, transportation, logistics, warehousing, you name it. When you're bootstrapping and you're an entrepreneur, you have to learn all the aspects of the company, which I think is important, especially from my perspective. I don't come from a business background. It was good for me to learn about the dynamics of the business. Company culture, we kind of talked about that earlier. That has been very important to me. When you're bootstrapping, you control 100% of the culture yourself. You don't have any influence from any outside sources, venture capitalists saying, yeah, I like what you're doing, but why don't you try this? And again, I feel for us, a lot of the success is my team and the culture that we have. We live in Colorado, so we enjoy the outdoors. A lot of us get together after work. We take lunchtime bike rides. I don't know how well received that would be amongst the venture capitalist community and saying, hey, what are you guys doing? But to me, that's the way that I get my team to work Tuesday nights. They get to work Thursday nights. They work on weekends, is providing some flexibilities and having a positive culture. A lot of small and medium-sized businesses too. You can make decisions quick, and fast. You don't need to go out to outside, your investors to ask, and every little decision you want to make, we're able to make them quickly on our own, and that's very important in e-commerce. As we say, what we're learning here at this conference here in June is not what was happening in January in e-commerce. It's what's happening in June in e-commerce. So being a small business and bootstrapping allows us to make those decisions and turn on the dime. The other thing is too, is, about the equity piece. I think, you really got to look at, what is the trajectory of your company on its own right now with your strategic plan that you have laid out for the next 3 to 5 years. Do you think that you can hit your goals without outside funding? For us, it was, yes, I think we can continue to be successful. We are trying to get past the $10 million mark. And now we've been around for 7 years, which seems to be an eternity in this business. So, we're happy to be at the 7 years and hope to be around for another 7 years. The other things too is, there's something about being profitable too, and so this bootstrapping has forced us to be profitable from day one. And my wife was intent on us not starting a business that was going to lose money. She was just like, okay, I'll sign on to this
Not
thing.
a good strategy, right?
But we're not going to be losing money. So,
Yeah.
it forced us to earn money and be profitable in year 1 all the way through year 7.
So on the con side, I would think it'd be nice to get some of those resources. As you said, e-commerce is changing quickly. There's a lot of nice things out on that floor you could buy.
Yep. So I think, some of the cons are, you are the boss of everything. As that's a great thing, it's also a con because, where I find myself and probably a lot of entrepreneurs that are in my same shoes is you spend more time working in the business versus working on the business. And that can be a trap is, you get into the day-to-day, you're rolling up the sleeves, you're in the trenches. While that can be very good, it can also be anti-growth. And you get away from being the strategic leader of the organization. And there's certainly days still now, as the CEO, I've got 18 employees. When we have a heavy shipping day, I'm running down to the warehouse at the last minute, and I'm packing up the last boxes to help shipping to make sure we get them out the door for our customers. One of the big things that you kind of just alluded to is, when you go at it alone, you're insulated from outside expertise, unless you want to pay for it. So you want to have, you can bring in consultants and things like that. There's a trade show floor full of highly intelligent people and organizations, but when you bring on a venture capitalist or a private equity firm, they're going to have some expertise in key areas that I may not have. So, in terms of in finance or in distribution or supply chain management. So I think there's a risk in bootstrapping that you might insulate yourself some really good advice. Slower growth too. VC-backed firms tend to have that top line revenue growth, that just is off the charts. and where they're lacking those in the profitability side. So again, what is the goal of the business? If your goal is to have this rapid ramp up of sales, the VC route might be the way. Or if you're trying to enter a crowded marketplace and there's no way you can enter in a $100 billion marketplace on $2,100, it's not all industries are like that. And the other thing too is burnout and stress. When you're an entrepreneur and you're doing it on your own, you can only work so many 60, 70, 80-hour work weeks until you get burned out, your team gets burned out. So that's something to consider too, and I think that certainly is a con that a lot of entrepreneurs who say that have gone at their own is like, I was able to do this for X amount of years and then I just hit the wall because I burned out and I can't do it all anymore on my own.
Yeah. So what are some key questions maybe business owners can ask themselves if they're making this choice?
Yeah, so I think the things that we started to ask ourselves in a few years back was, what are the goals for the business? And for me, again, it was always, support the family. That's what I was looking to do, and then I brought in a lot of friends that had gone out and had different careers, and really just creating this awesome culture. So do you have an exit strategy for the business too? What is the ultimate end goal for the business? Venture capitalists can certainly build your company up to be sold, bring it in for more investors. For us, our exit strategy really is we want to continue to ride this thing out as long as we can, and we see that there's a long runway in our kind of business that we're in for B2B. The other thing too is, you're being approached by venture capitalists. What in addition to the cash are they offering? Do they really provide value behind, in addition to just the money? While the capital can be great, if they're not offering you any strategic advantages or help in areas that you're weak, maybe the cash isn't the best alternative for you. And the other thing is too is, if you're already growing fast, in our situation is we were growing fast already. Had we brought in investors at that valuation, we would have been giving away so much, potential growth in the company that was already caked in. So if you're already growing fast and you're already profitable, I think you really need to take a look at, is bringing in a VC just going to dilute my earnings? And what you'd hate to have is your business triples in size and your take home as the business owner is going to be less because you brought in venture capitalist funding. And I think the last thing is too, is whether you go the VC route or you decide to go and bootstrap it on your own. It's for us, it's not 2009 anymore, it's 2016. The landscape is entirely different. Amazon is just the monster in the room here. And if you're not ready to go big, you might as well go home, because there's no more dipping the toe in the water of e-commerce. You've got to be all in or you're all out, because it is so darn competitive out there. The fortunate thing for us in small to medium-sized businesses is, there's 600 vendors on the trade show floor right now that can help us and companies like ours deliver an Amazon-type experience, which is very important for the customers of today.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Brian. Thanks for coming by and sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for watching. If you're looking to grow your business, you can find a lot more ideas at marketingsherpa.com/IRCE.